Welcome back to another episode of the Eight Black Hands. I'm here with my amazing brothers and castmates, Sharif El Mekki and Citizen Stewart. I'm very happy to have you all. We will not be having Ray tonight. He's busy. If he is able to join later, we welcome him. But fellas, we are continuing from last week's show, which is pretty funny because Chris put together this really good show, and it was supposed to be this free-flowing show, and we was like, yo, Chris always talks about the awfulization of black people, and that we do this a lot, and he wanted to do a show centered around joy. And I'll let Chris in his check-in, describe what he meant by the awfulization. But it just took us, we was a locomotive last week. It took us 40 minutes to get into it, but once we got in there, we didn't want to stop. So we just want to continue that. So why don't y'all just check in real quick, just how you doing? And Chris, in yours, if you could just speak briefly to the awfulization and why you wanted to do last week's show that way, I think that'll give some context.
Man, it's been a week. I almost have forgotten what we were talking about. But first of all, the check-in is we all got to see each other in Indy a couple of days ago, and we got to connect with some people that we work with across different lines, like state lines and different organizations, and it was great. It is always great and a blessing to know that the work that we do allows us to get on planes and go places and be together in different cities and meet people that we don't know, and they become friends or family, or to meet with people that we only see when we're on the road. So that was great. As my check-in for this week, we do need more joy. We need more black joy. We need to be thinking beyond. Like we talk about our problems and our deficits and our problems and our gaps and our whatever disproportionality or disproportionate this, that, and the other, and blah 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 blah. And we are blessed in so many ways that we need to take a breath sometimes and chill the hell out, especially with the whole world is on state of high alert right now. We don't have to join that. So anyways, yes, we had that show last week, and we were going to start having somewhat of a conversation like that, like we often do. 50 minutes into the conversation, we got on a roll. We started talking about like stuff that was like, now see, if the whole show had been about this, I would have had a much better time. Well, then damn it, let's make the whole show about this. And what this was about black famous people who are black famous. I mentioned, I don't know who was Frankie Beverly Mays or whatnot, right. Is a person who's black famous. And we said right after that show, you know what, we should do a whole show on that. That would be a good conversation. So here we are, a week later. Yeah, welcome, brothers. Good to see y'all again.
Man, absolutely. Reef, go ahead, B. You was picking it up.
Yeah, no, I was just saying it was great to see y'all in person this weekend in Naptown. I'm still cracking up that Chris was talking about happy to be nappy was why they were called Naptown. So I thought that was hilarious.
I don't know why they call Naptown.
Naptown, Indianapolis. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's just short for Indy, Okay. Like some say Indy, some say Naptown. And then and then Educator Barnes also added that because it's Midwest and sometimes it's not a lot to do, and people just like it's kind of a sleepy town sometimes, and people take naps. So, but I had always just taking it from Indianapolis. But I was cracking up. You would know this tirade about happy to be nappy and all this kind of stuff. But shout out to Educator Barnes. If y'all not following her, she's my favorite American librarian. And now she's doing, even bigger things, touching, stirring many pots. But her sons were at the show, her sixth graders who then wrote about their experience, and people should check it out and read what they had to say. She also wrote a piece, so it's like from the Barnes family.
And it was great.
Check it out. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The Noble Barnes. Not Barnes and Noble, the Noble Barnes. Check them out.
I should say she brought her two twin sons with her. And because she is a librarian, it was just a beautiful thing to see, because I follow them on social media. I get to see all the books they're reading. They're kind of like you, Sharif. Like you garden, they garden. Mm-hmm. You do this natural stuff.
Their garden is way better than mine, though.
They're intense. They about their business, right?
Yeah, they're for real.
Y'all like mating bees, having bee marriages and stuff. I can't keep up with y'all, but these two.
Listen, animal husbandry. Don't sleep on animal husbandry, man. That's
I'll sleep on it. Yeah, I'll sleep on it. Yeah,
you know what's funny? You know what's funny about the gardening thing? I heard this twice. I heard this on a podcast, and I heard this when I was just recently abroad, and they were like, like, let me tell you how arrogant Americans are, right? They was like, some of y'all just have gardens with flowers that you can't eat. Like some of y'all just have space where you plant stuff, where you just don't plant food. Like that's how spoiled like Americans are. Then I heard somebody that was an immigrant talking about this on a podcast, but it was funny when you were saying that because y'all both grow food and grow stuff, and my neighbor grows food and things to eat. But that's an interesting perspective if you ain't never went nowhere, right? Like we don't really think about that.
Add one
thing. The whole idea with lawns too.
Add something as a old black man who's too old for TikTok, but always learns something from TikTok. So you'll hear me say all the time, I learned this on TikTok.
I'm waiting for your skits, bro. I'm waiting for your skits.
Bro, I got to get into it because listen, I'm kind of becoming a big deal on TikTok anyway, just so people know.
Talk your shit, son.
Just go follow my channel. I'm not even trying that hard. I'm getting thousands of views. I'm not even trying that hard. Anyways, there's an African TikToker who makes observations about the United States. And one of the things that she said, I would have never known this. This is right up your alley, Cherie. She said, isn't it funny that Americans wiped out all the female trees and only plant male trees because they don't want free food, fruit growing. So across all the cities, everywhere you go, there are only male trees planted, no female trees. Now, first of all, I'm a little old to not know that there's male and female trees, right?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Forgot it. Let's just say you forgot.
I didn't know that.
Damn.
And some of that is on the same tree, mind you, so it gets a little complex. But go ahead.
Male and female trees, and then they stopped as urban planning. They stopped planting ones that would have any type of fruit drop off of them because they didn't want fruit. I mean, what?
Listen, bro, this is a capitalistic society. And
it is a very capitalistic society.
If people are just picking apples and oranges in Fairmount Park, then who's going to go to the supermarket and get the markup?
This is why they have fences around orchards. If you are anywhere in the United States and you live near an orchard, go try and get you some free peaches.
Now, I will say in some places in California, Florida, like you can drive by and see like just in the median, just see some lemon trees growing or something like that random, but it ain't because of the government. It's probably somebody, a tree hugger
wild thing
like us,
right?
Just decided to plant it there. I mean, but it's the same thing with lawns. Like I read one time years ago, the amount of water that people used just for lawn that looks like a daggone golf course or something is nuts. They were like, this is a purely American thing. Like, I just want grass, and when you look at it's just nuts to me. I'm just like, that's crazy. Plant some clover. There's so many things to plant. Why
like you grass? And like Educator Barnes, maybe plant something like maybe you want a tomato that tastes like a tomato, right? Maybe you want some food. Maybe you want to grow something. Without the GMO stuff. I mean, even the organic stuff, I think is a lie. See, I'm officially that age now of black manness where everything is the Illuminati. Because like organic is not organic.
Right. Listen, if
they
you're
come out the same place.
If you're a capitalist that's scheming to liberate that money out your pocket, what will they do? They're like, oh, that's what you want? Well, I'm gonna label it this.
Put the label on there.
Even though what you gonna do? How you gonna know it ain't?
That's just how Americans label schools as education places.
Hey, but you know what? This is what I've missed, right? I've missed like today's episode is about joy, man. And this is part of the reason we don't get into shows until 40 minutes. But two, it's actually a part of it, right? Because this is about joy. And as we go into that, though, right? Like we were talking about this in Indy, just like a reset, and just a little history for people that listen to 8 Black Hands. What we started as was 4 Black allies at this point. We wasn't all even just full-fledged friends at the moment. We were coming together and building that, but we would be at these conferences and we'd hear these empty, hollow conversations and the same stuff, and the taglines over and over again and all that same stuff. And we started having conversations just to keep ourselves sane, just to know that there was somebody else out there that cared about this. And also, Black men are often really erased in education. So we would have these talks, and these talks became an act of survival and of joy. Like one of us would bring a topic, or one of us would have an issue, or we just connect around some stuff in an authentic way. And then we, as a collective, we were like, yo, what if we shared this conversation? Like we didn't play to a crowd. We didn't care about that. Like we just let people in on the conversation. Their job is to take or leave whatever they want. but this used to be my sanctuary. This used to be my place where I used to feel, joy and not alone. And it kept me in this work. And I think that I want to get back to that. So today we're talking about Black famous or these Black traditions, the things that bring us joy. If you listening, your job is to take what works for you, leave the rest or whatever. But I'm tired of talking about how bad these systems are, how bad these schools are, as if we don't know, as if I don't want to start parroting the same things that those people hear. There have been alternatives. There have been great things in our community for so long. And as Chris just kind of talks about this over-awfulization, and I think we posted about it before as well. You know what I mean? Chris, why don't you lead us into that, and then you can kick us off with one of these. Either it could be a Black famous person or just a custom that taught you this ain't got nothing to do with school. This is all about us and our people right now. But give that context about the awfulization so people know why we're just about to OD on joy for ourselves and be selfish in this episode.
I think a lot of the thing about the awfulization is that when you talk about Black people, many people's minds go straight to the worst statistics or the worst things. It's, when you talk about Black children, the first thing that pops through your head isn't, gregarious, gallivanting children laughing on the playground. You start thinking through all the drumbeat, the media drumbeat, the personal narratives from one-to-one drumbeat. Even many of our activists and our own people fall into the patterns of when they talk about us. It's always the struggle. It's always it's never the joy. And when it is, it's not enough of it. So it isn't the way that you feel when you're in church and you stomp and you clap and you feel elevated, and it's because something happens in the spirit and in the song in the moment that got you out of your seat and has you jumping or whatnot. It's a feeling I can't put into words. I could be a poet, I could be a great writer, but as somebody who has experienced it during very tough times of my life, that moment, if you were to encapsulate it, I can't tell you what it feels like, but I can tell you it's one of the best feelings you'll ever have, to feel that elevated and lifted in the moment because the spirit has grabbed you. And it is something that is unique and specific to Black life, Black churching, Black spirituality, and our own spirit. And it's the same thing. I'll give one more example, and I'll kick it back to you all. In the things that go invisible, the joys that go invisible, or the lessons that go invisible from Black life, while we're awfulizing, talking about the worst of us and the worst statistics all the time. We talked a bit last week. It came up about Saturday morning cleanup, right? Mm-hmm. And in my lifetime, not just me, but my cousins and others I knew had a similar experience, in that on Saturday mornings, a certain set of albums would go on and a certain set of things were supposed to happen in the house. And people knew what their part of what that Saturday thing was that was supposed to happen. And I learned from that because, cleaning the house can be a pretty routine and boring thing. But first of all, it was Saturday morning. You didn't have no school. You might have some overcooked pancakes or a little this or that or the other going on, whatever you ate in your household or whatnot. Yeah, I can remember some pretty Negro pancakes in my lifetime. They tried to be Mickey Mouse and try to do other stuff or whatnot, but certain aunties and certain others folks in the family were better at it than others. You didn't mess with everybody's grits. You didn't mess with everybody's eggs. My grandmother would make eggs with so much oil coming off of them that they'd slide off the damn plate if you took the plate to the side. So that wasn't the best part of it, but I do know with my mom and my dad and my cousins, and if I spent the night over somebody else's houses, you had to get up and you had to make sure that carpet got vacuumed and there were lines in the carpet, and you had to make sure that things were done to a certain level of. The biggest fear was to be raggedy. That was the biggest fear.
Absolutely.
Nobody wanted to be raggedy or trifling. Those are words that we use. Raggedy and trifling. Right? Nobody wanted to be either one of those things. And raggedy was for words that you said in more proper company, and trifling was what you would use to mention those particular family members who didn't have the same Saturday routine. But man, those Saturdays for me were Marvin Gaye. They were Stevie Wonder. They were Bill Withers. They were the Temptations. They were Wes Montgomery. They could have been Aretha or Smokey Robinson at different times, depending on what mood the fam was in. But I had a soundtrack. I had a ritual. and I had a learning of this is what we do to keep our house moving and going on. That was joy to me. I look back on that fondly now. I didn't love it. Who loves getting up on a Saturday to clean up, man? But I look back on it now fondly.
Man, that's the best. That's the best music you're gonna hear, you know, and you just know the soundtrack. It's like, damn it.
I'm old now, so it feels like somebody else is gonna have a different soundtrack for that Saturday morning, right? Theirs might be Levert, or that might be R. Kelly, or might be something else. Mine was those ones I just mentioned, you know.
Yeah. No, same. I mean, my early memories of parents cleaning the house, us helping as, you know, as our age, you know, dictated, whatever we were able to do as we got older. Now the folks in my house could throw down with the waffles, and we would make waffles and pancakes, you know.
That was fancy.
Man, we were just like, yo, it was so many of us, like, it was just like, yo, pancakes a little faster, waffles a little more, you know, enjoyable. So we would just, you know, they would do both, you know what I mean? But Stevie Wonder, Bill Withers,
there you
go. That was those were the two that I remember. You know, and I think to this day, that's why Stevie Wonder is like my favorite artist, you know, just having all those memories. But my favorite time back then, man, was visiting my you know, our family in Mullins, South Carolina, a little town called Mullins. You know, one of those open the front door, you can see right out the back door with the chickens,
shotgun.
The roosters. Yeah, tall grass on the side, and like, don't go there, snakes in there. But Aunt Ruth, when I tell you, like, I still have not had biscuits like Aunt Ruth's, bruh, it's a different thing. It's a different thing. Grits, yellow grits, you know, different thing. I mean, but it was fruit was fresh, like none of this old like picking it too early so they could ship it to your store and it sit there. None of that, man. It's just good eating, good times with your cousins and your family. Man.
Get on a pallet. Did y'all have pallets? Get on a pallet.
I don't know.
I slept on a bunch of pallets.
Yeah, many folks slept on the floor with a sleeping bag. You know what I mean? We would go down there in the station wagon, bro. Put the seats down.
You fancy now.
In that station wagon. Yeah,
he said sleeping bag is fancy.
Cover. It was 2 covers. You know what I'm saying?
We had that too, but we did a lot of camping, so we always had some sleeping bags.
I'll stay on this memory though. I mean, one, I'm gonna go to the Kentucky ones because that's where I was with my grandmother, and I just have the most traditions was with her. But that is where, I mean, she loved the Isley Brothers, so like, you know, that drifting on the memory, you hear that part coming, and you know, she got that. My grandmama loved In the Heat of the Night. Listen, walk past the TV when In the Heat of the Night. She loved the movie and the show. I think, what was it, Virgil? What was his name? Tibbs? Was it Mr. Tibbs? The brother. And then I remember in the movie then he slapped a cop back. He slapped a white dude or something.
That's in the Heat of the Night.
Yeah.
In the Heat of the Night.
The All in the Family.
Yes. Yeah. And we also watched All in the Family. She loved Carol O'Connor too. We loved that. And then we would clean. The other thing that we had, man, I would catch lightning bugs in the summer, like in the hot summer nights. We call them lightning bugs in Kentucky and in Chicago. You know, it's the little, some people call them dragonflies, but I know dragonflies would be something different. But
dragonflies, firefly, they call them fireflies.
Yeah, fireflies. Yeah, there you go, fireflies. I called them, because I didn't call them fireflies. I called them lightning bugs. And then I would catch them and, you know, put grass and pop holes in the top and all that, man. But those were just joyous moments. And it was about, you know, and as around this awfulization, man, it was just really about being with your people, being with your family. And like, you know, there were rooms that were designated after a certain time. So, right. Yeah, that's my uncle. That's one that I lived with him. It was his mama. So I lived with them. But it would, you know, when my parents and them started playing cards in the room, like there was in the kitchen, there was a part that you could stay for. And then there was a part of the night where it's like, you need to make a transition up out of there. You know, but you could, you know, sometimes if your mama feeling good or your daddy feeling good, they'll let you sit on their lap while they playing spades or dominoes and teach you, okay, you don't do that. All right. You don't talk over the board. Like these are really like just important things. The other thing, man, I'm gonna go to shows. I watched a lot of TV. TV raised me like it raised a lot of people. Quantum Leap. I don't know if y'all remember Quantum Leap. I love Quantum Leap was that joint, and this is my favorite today. People still make fun of me about it. Golden Girls and Mama's House. Now, Mama's Family, and people, I'll do stuff with like young people, right? And they'll be like, your grandmama liked a lot of white shows. I'm like, it wasn't just, we had like 5 black shows. Like these are the shows that was on TV. But, and the other thing I remember as a kid is in the summertime, you had to get your ass out of the house about 9 or 10, and you needed to not come back in until nighttime, until like right before the street lights came on, because if you're running in and out this house, you're gonna be stuck here. So pick one. And we had this thing in Kentucky, which was dope. I lived in the projects there, so it was called the food truck, and it would come twice. It would come for like at the breakfast time, and then it'll come like later in the day around lunchtime, and then they had activities and stuff for us. I mean, it was really fun. Like, I mean, it's poverty now. You can call it what you want, but that was some of the funnest stuff ever. I mean, we would do, beanbag races and play sports. And and the other thing was, I made a list for this show. Like, I learned how to be independent. I was a latchkey kid. So like, you got that key, you got to keep that key on you. They put it on the string, put it in your shirt. Hey man, don't lose this key. Don't let nobody in my house. You take your ass straight home. You do your homework. I put some food in the refrigerator for you, do that. And then I'll see you when you come back. Oh, all my uncles is on today. I got uncles from Kentucky and Chicago on. What's up, Uncle Dante in Chicago, and Uncle Tony in Kentucky. So, they might have some more stories to drop in there, man. I don't want to hog it up. You should give us all the screen, because, again, these is just kind of these joyous moments. And I'm from a different time from y'all, so I know some of that stuff.
Quantum Leap, man. I think I was.
First of all, Quantum Leap ain't black famous. That ain't black famous.
That ain't black famous.
Listen,
that's hella white famous.
Hey, listen, bro. I don't know what's black famous to you.
I think it was at college.
That's not black famous to anybody.
I was. Well, let me name one more, because it was one of my favorite shows. So it was 2 of my favorite shows. One is black famous. I don't know if the other one is, but it is for me, because this is what played in my house. Damn it, I'm going by what's black famous to me in my house. But you're right. Call it out. I left the thing. Yeah. Different World. My parents, I had to watch Different World even when I didn't want to, because that was my way of my parents telling me I was going to college. But Wonder Years, I love the Wonder Years. The Wonder Years is one of my favorite shows. I love Wonder Years so much. It ain't got to be black famous. It's about what I like.
What the show is.
It is.
Like, forget the title of the show.
You forget the whole show now.
I'm just telling you,
white famous.
No. Here's what I'm saying.
Charles' childhood.
Let me tell you what I'm saying though, right? Because at my school with my friends who are all black, these are the shows that we watch. I'm from a different era, and I lived in Kentucky, and I lived in a bunch of different places. So there was no Twitter to say this is the trending stuff. What I'm saying is, Wonder Years was so influential that if Winnie Cooper would have ended up with Kevin Arnold, I'd be married right now. Okay, I'm just saying, yo. Wonder Years was that joint.
So in keeping with the show, like
somebody said in Living Color, I would Living Color is definitely up there. I'm just talking, and let me just, and I want you to clarify, Chris. But when I'm thinking of black famous, because I don't want to go off or whatever. When I'm thinking of black famous, I'm rooting it in the joy, black joy, and my context for black. Well, what was happening in my house? In my multicultural home with my grandmother. It was her house and we stayed with her. But you know what I'm saying? Like, what was happening? What was my uncle and my auntie watching? What was my granny watching? What was my parents watching? Because it wasn't a social media. I wasn't going over at other people's houses. I watched what was on in the crib.
Yeah, I'm
thinking about black famous, I'm thinking about things that if you gave white America a proficiency test on it, they wouldn't know it. Only black America would know it. If you asked 5 white people in America, who is Phyllis Hyman?
Philly famous. White folks in Philly may know her.
White folks in Philly might know her, but black folks, and listen, Charles, you've mentioned Anita Baker a lot of times. I bet you a good portion of white America, if you ask them name 4 Anita Baker songs, they might give you 1. They might give you 2. But you ask a larger group of black folks, you definitely, when you get to people like Frankie Beverly Mays and others like that, like you're just not gonna find as many people that were kicking it. Or New York Undercover. I don't know, that show was probably before you, but
no. I know I grew up on New York Undercover.
Yeah, so like shows like that, you would go to work and talk with black folks, and white folks around you would not know. Yeah, they would not.
Oh.
It would almost like you were speaking a secret
Boomerang be
language.
on this
right.
list? Would Boomerang be on the list? Ooh.
Yeah, Boomerang would absolutely be on the list. It absolutely. But here's
it would
what
be a black famous movie. That would be a blacker.
I mean, but Eddie Murphy was the biggest thing smoking too, though, right? Like, so I don't.
He was.
Like,
but white folks weren't messing with him as much as they were.
48. Oh, yeah, they was.
When he got into those movies.
I know what you mean. I got you.
When he got into those movies. 48 Hours was a Nick Nolte movie that made Eddie famous, and all white America saw 48 Hours.
Yeah,
they didn't all see all of Eddie's other movies, right?
That's like right.
I can name at least 5 movies that I'm sure of Eddie Murphy's.
48 Hours and Trading Places might have been theirs, and the rest was ours.
That was theirs. And then after that, he became very, black famous, and so did a lot of the comics, as a matter of fact, right? Like a lot of comics never crossed fully over, but we know who they are.
Well, I agree with you.
Vlad interviews are black famous, right? If you think about Vlad interviews,
Vlad TV,
Vlad TV.
You losing Sharif. You don't know what you're talking about.
But series of like black comedians,
and he's from the Bay, so I know Vlad, which is pretty interesting. But I would just say I don't know him personally, but I know I knew him on its come up. But I know I got you. I think for me, because we're in different cultures, so we're in different time zones. So Martin is probably the most viral black. Super black famous. I mean, I know every episode of Martin, the Jamie Foxx show. I know, like, you know what I'm saying, Living Single. I mean, Moesha. Those shows. Oh, Moesha was definitely up there. I didn't love it, but Moesha was definitely up there. They jumped the shark.
Meet the Parkers.
That came out of that. But Living Color, I think is still to this day one of the most comedically genius. Like, I didn't know about the Richard Pryor show until I was older, till like it was on YouTube and people were talking about it. Like, I didn't have the privilege of growing up, but I met Paul Mooney and talked to Paul Mooney more than 5 or 6 times, right? And like hearing him talk about all they went through to do the Richard Pryor show, like was just, and then to see Chappelle in my generation and seeing how that came full circle, I would say those are really black famous things, but were y'all around for the Richard Pryor show when that was happening? I would love.
I was around for it, but you just said 2 things in there. So Paul Mooney would definitely be black famous.
Absolutely.
But and most of America don't know how much of comedy is derivative from Paul Mooney. He's like the wellspring, came out of him, and you heard it out of other people's mouth, like all around, right? But some of the artists that draw on him the most are not black famous. I mean, Chappelle is as white famous as you can get. Well, Chappelle is Roganated. He's been Roganated. So
the Chappelle show wasn't though, and I like the Chappelle show wasn't. Yeah,
that's true.
The Chappelle show wasn't. I would say Cat Williams is one of those people, right? Cat Williams is a comedian who played, he's like an underground type of comedian who is. So I want to bring you back in, Sharif. I'm really saying to people that you like, I don't know, but see, this is why.
I mean, I've heard a lot. I mean, a lot of the TV shows I didn't watch them, but I heard of Moesha. That's the singer.
That's Brandy.
Brandy played.
And then her brother Ray J came on. That was her. It started out as her cousin, and then they jumped the shark and was like, "Actually, it's your daddy's secret baby."
So I missed all of that. So they were talking about it back in the day. It went right over my head. I mean, obviously, the thing about a lot of probably a lot of when these were coming out, we were in Iran. So we got back in what was it? 85 or 86. So anything that was, early on during that time, I just missed it. Things that did make it over there, they're probably like a decade later or whatever. So, but yeah, I mean, when I think about black famous, I also think about just some musicians like, Bahamadia. As much as white people buy rap, there's some folks like a Bahamadia that they may not have heard of, they may not have, listened to her and things like that. So, it's interesting because entertainment is where they will dive in, buy, purchase, so on and so forth. But it's still usually a certain genre, right? Like when we're talking about like that underground, or stuff that kind of stays in our neighborhood, in our communities, shows that are specifically for us, and they may not have found that, particularly if they're not getting radio play, type of thing. So, You know, that's that's the interesting piece. I mean, if I would say a movie or something that I would think is, and I don't know for sure because I don't know the numbers and the rate, all that kind of stuff. Is one of my favorites ever was Soldier Story. Now, I don't know if that's Black famous.
Story,
huh? I don't think that's Black famous. I think that
was pretty out there.
I think that one had broad appeal.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, that one had very broad appeal.
Okay.
Man, I'm telling you, our fam in the comments are blowing up with good ones, though. I mean,
you see how much more interaction we get on joyous topics.
Yeah, look at this: George Clinton and P-Funk, blaxploitation movies, Mickey
Absolutely.
Howard,
yeah, all the
Flip Wilson. I love me some Flip Wilson in that show. I can't remember. I think that might have been crossover too. Clifton Davis is a name. Get Christy Love. Lord, somebody is just reading my brain right now because Christy Davis. There used to be a show called That's My Mama. Get Christy Love was the first time I felt something in a movie. It was a new feeling and a new sensation. I remember Get Christy Love, Sanford and Son, Al Green, of course, Al Green.
Al Green's not not crossover.
Al Green's really Al Green's biggest albums are really classics that are Black classics.
Wow.
Meaning I think White America would not be very.
He's ours, but I think he's super famous. I think the white
super famous. But again, ask people to name 3 of the songs or his albums in a row. Nicole put a good one in here because this one is the ultimate. I think
I said Dolomite.
She put Janet Jackson's first album. Janet Jackson's first 2 albums. The first one I think was
The Pleasure Principle on one of the first.
No, see, her first album was Janet
Jackson's. It was like her in the water with like the flowers and stuff.
In 1982,
I wasn't here.
She was still in R&B land. Really, Jesse Johnson produced that album. What does it say here? It says something here like Renee Moore and Angela Winbush contributed. I can't think of 2 more Black famous people. Angela Winbush. You would
that
have
name
to go.
sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, Karen White. Then, if that's the case, listen. When Karen White came out with Superwoman, that was the first. That was like the Black Women's Million Women's March.
She heard the wrong movement with that one. She shouldn't have done that. Because then I thought it was good. Now
Karen White
just later, I'm like, that started that whole,
Shanice.
Oh yeah, the Last Poets, Shanice. Definitely.
Yeah.
Last Poets. And speaking of that, Sweet Honey in the Rock. I don't know how crossover that is. Kindred, the Family Soul. Family Soul.
Principal Cafele.
That's more contemporary. I mean, that's last 20 years. I would say Soul Train definitely. You know what? I forgot. I got my mother and my sister would both kill me because this is like their anthem movie. Like I like it. They know every line. The Color Purple. Color Purple is. I mean,
Jesus.
Color Purple.
That is so crossover, bro.
It got crossover, but like it would Black.
That is not Black famous.
Color Purple is super Black famous. They're gonna get you in the comments.
No, that was not Black famous.
That is super Black.
That was produced. Wait a second.
More white people saw that than Black people.
No, right.
White people saw that. Yeah.
No, and it was produced. Okay, so Steven
it was produced by Steven Spielberg. I got you.
And the NAACP protested it,
and that's fine.
Black reviewers wouldn't even really touch it that much because it was so negative about Black men.
I promise you, when this feed catches up, Black people will start putting lines in from that movie. People watch it.
They can put lines in it. Yeah, they can put lines in it. That don't mean it's Black famous. Like we're saying, like white people haven't heard of it. I saw so many white people when I got back from Iran reading that joint on the L train.
Listen, man, I'm telling you, yo. Just because white people
they're like, I knew it. Yeah. That's right.
The Color Purple is ours. Color Purple, the book, was ours. Steven Spielberg's The Color Purple movie was a juggernaut.
The movie is ours, because I promise you more Black people saw the movie than watched the book. I mean, I promise you more people watched the movie than read the book. I promise.
The book was more Black. It was a juggernaut.
I promise you more Black people watched that movie. I'm telling you, watch.
I'm sure Black people watch more every movie than a book. That's Black
all I'm saying is if Al Green counts, if Luther Vandross counts, then Color Purple counts.
Somebody just put in the chat. I do agree with. Somebody just put in the chat that Black people talked about it more. It became more of
I mean,
Thank you.
a lot of black folks boycotted that movie.
I know, but
And
there was
that's what I
still a
mean.
whole lot of folks, you know, like quote, like you don't hear, you're not gonna hear white people quoting Color Purple, but you know,
Exactly.
you're gonna
You're not
you're
gonna
hear black
like,
people quoting.
It's in
you know what I
vernacular today. When somebody say, "Who that man?" Like who? Listen, bro. When there are lines,
who that Harpo? No, what do you say?
you told Harpo to beat me. You gonna hear like you listen, man.
Yeah, that's
I'm telling you, all my life I've had to fight. Come on, B. That this is a black famous thing. Don't play games, B. Like,
it's famous. It's famous. I'll give you that. It's
the
famous.
quotes.
Like
I would say it definitely
it ain't
the
black
clothing
famous.
and all that.
Thank you, Naomi. Put up Naomi's quote. Thank you, Naomi. I appreciate you, Nay.
A staple in our community is not the same thing as being black.
It is. I'm telling you, it is one of the most famous movies with black people in it of all time in our community.
That's different. You just changed the bar.
It is black famous.
One of the most famous things with black people in it.
No.
But
this is.
But in terms of black famous are things that white America is not aware of.
No,
things that are famous with black people that are not famous with white people.
Let me tell you what they're not aware of. They are aware of the movie. They are not aware of the emotions that come with that movie. They are not aware of being in a house with a black woman, two black women, my mama and my sister, who know every single line. I'm telling you, you still hear quotes from Color Purple today.
I'm yeah, that's right.
Our people is famous with our people.
Yeah, Harpo, who's this woman?
You know, it's famous with our people. It's not a secret to white folks.
What about Fat Albert? Was Fat Albert like? Was that a?
I feel like that was a black thing.
Okay. But Bill Cosby was the most famous thing on the.
I'm not talking about Bill Cosby. I'm talking about very specifically Fat Albert.
What I'm saying, if we're gonna say, I'm telling you, like, just a lot of white people watch that too. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all I'm saying.
My memory of it is that none of the white kids in my school watch Fat Albert.
I didn't have no white kids in my school, so there you go.
Right. Well, I mean, this is the point. This is the point. A lot of things could be secret to black folks that white folks aren't experiencing. The same thing.
All I'm saying, like that movie.
And how you watched Quantum Leap and had no white kids at your school?
I mean, because my
Wonder Years, Wonder Years is the little white kid, right? Telling the story.
It's a white kid, but it was. I mean, it was. Listen, some shit. That white boy has soul. Listen, man. Some things just got it be. Some things just got it be. John B is white famous. Put like John B is black famous.
Yes.
John B is a white boy that's super black famous.
And Tina Marie is black famous.
No. You thinking of Robin Thicke, but Robin Thicke is black famous. His dad, Alan Thicke, is white famous. But Robin Thicke became black famous. Like these was white boys that came in doing black music.
John B has definitely got no white fans.
Like he got
all black fans.
They definitely
black and Latino fans. Right?
They definitely black. Oh, Def Comedy Jam. Def Comedy Jam. Naomi just put that in there. Def Comedy. See, that's now we get into stuff that's more like I mean, New Jack City.
Not just Def Comedy Jam, but a lot of people you can mention who you saw in there definitely.
Everybody
over the white. Like even Bernie Mac, I think remained mostly black famous. Even though he became a superstar.
He has the most. Yeah, that's his most iconic. You know, that's even bigger than what he did on Kings of Comedy.
I ain't afraid of you.
Yeah, I ain't scared of you. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really, really dope. I would say DeBarge. DeBarge is very
was hella beige famous.
Don't get Chris hype and excited, bro. Don't get him excited.
Chris, you have failed the beige community by not bringing out the hoodest.
Oh, I could get everybody. Switch, DeBarge, I'll be sure.
L DeBarge, all them damn DeBarge. Bunny, I like them all.
Yeah, Switch was the original band. I Call Your Name. Don't you remember the song?
Absolutely.
I Call Your Name.
They was the hardest people in the world. They were some gangsters their whole life. It was like, Bunny, don't stab nobody else. Calm down.
On the surface, they were this Motown, nice little happy family. Nah. In the green room, there was crack everywhere. It was like a Rick James party going on.
The dude married Janet Jackson. Like it was wild, B. It was a lot.
And
like
Secret Baby. That's black famous too. The conspiracy theories.
That is never
like the Secret Baby.
Secret Baby is black famous. So
is that where y'all getting all this from?
See, that's
they had a whole Secret Baby, bro.
We don't know. That has never been confirmed. Please don't talk about my wife in that way.
Yeah,
I'm saying,
it got adopted by Bobby Brown.
Paula Abdul was black famous. Paula Abdul, absolutely. Well, let me tell you,
not a black person owned Paula Abdul.
I'm gonna tell you two people. I'm gonna tell you two people that's black famous, but more behind the scenes. Okay. Paula Abdul and Debbie Allen. So they were both doing stuff, and you've seen them, but they are responsible for like Debbie Allen is responsible, largely responsible for Different World, all his dance choreography. They did Paula Abdul did Janet Jackson's dance choreography. Like they did Rhythm Nation.
They're not on the same level though.
She did the choreography. Like
she did choreography, but she's hella corny.
I don't think that's black famous. I mean, she was an LA cheerleader. They know her.
What I'm saying is,
she LA cheerleader?
She was one of their cheerleaders.
How you know that, Sharif?
I don't know.
What I'm saying, she was
random.
I mean,
I know a few random stuff.
Look, hey, J Lo famous now, B, but J Lo started out as a fly girl. On you feel me? And so
she made the hell out of it too.
She don't even talk to them cats no more. I will say, like, but Damon Wayans, the Wayans family in general, definitely black famous. But
what was the name of that show with them when they had the Fireman Bob or
In Living Color? In Living Color.
Okay,
Jim Carrey was James Carrey. Like, you don't have James Carrey without them. Like, and like he started out black famous.
Yeah, he says that. He says that too.
Yeah.
You know what's black famous that I still haven't seen?
What?
The 5 Heartbeats.
Oh, we get into a whole nother genre now, B.
That's on my list. That's on my list. Yeah, but like, I gotta have enough time to sit through.
Can we just talk for just 1 minute?
And
we just talk for 1 minute?
Nap and wake up and I mean
about black swindlers. Can we just talk about that just for 1 minute? People who swindled us and then went and got white famous afterwards. Because you mentioned Jim Carrey. I think he remained true to the game. He still to this day says in Living Color and black audience made him what he was. But Justin Timberlake and what's the girl, like a wrecking ball girl, what's her name?
Miley Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus and all them. Their first 3, 4, 5 albums, all R&B. We're all amazed that they can sing and dance like black folks. They have black audiences.
Well, and her dad is like the biggest country music star, one of them of all time. She didn't even have to do that. Like,
they're like swindlers. They just like come in and we own them for a period of time. Like, like for a minute, oh damn, Justin Timberlake's album, his album was. I mean, listen, look who produced a lot of it, whatever. But then he went and did I'm kind of done with that. I'm tired of that now. I want some white audiences now.
What about
we get swindled?
Yeah, I mean I'm not surprised about that. What about like Walter Mosley's Jones?
You said who?
What about like Walter Mosley? Didn't some of his novels become movies?
Yeah, I mean, but I think
is that crossover though?
I think they're becoming more famous now, but I still call them black famous. I think Fences. I don't know if a lot of white people was like
Fences.
Yeah, no, Walter
I'm mixing up people. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're thinking of
Fences is August Wilson, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm thinking of August Wilson. That's my bad.
The white folks didn't have that one.
You said what?
He does not like that, Joy.
No, they
I love August Wilson. I love him.
That's the most boring shit I've ever seen in my life. They can have that one. Let's trade.
I love him. I love all of them. I want the whole set.
I'll trade him for Machine Gun Kelly. Just make a trade.
As F. I'm trying not to curse as much on this show, and you almost broke me into the big one. Let me tell you something. I think all the black women, especially of a certain generation, is gonna say this because I watched my mama and my grandmama every time he came on TV. Leon, he don't even have a last name, just Leon. Leon is black famous. He played in all those movies, Sharif. So you ain't seen
Sharif. He's the one who said the thing about Otis.
Yeah,
he's the one who said the thing about Otis.
Yes, but they love. Listen, man, talk to black women of a certain age about some Leon.
I'm glad you put certain age in there because for a certain period of time, Leon probably couldn't have walked anywhere on any street or whatnot, but generations are shifting now.
That's true.
And some of our people are getting older, and some new folks have replaced some of our old folks. Yes. Leon was that guy.
He's the epitome of black famous.
He was that guy in the 90s, and I would say 2000s.
I was gonna say 80s and 90s, but yeah, Henry had in the 2000s.
Huh?
I was gonna say 80s and 90s.
Yeah. Now, Baps.
I like
have you seen the movie Baps? That's black
Baps.
famous. Yeah, Baps is black famous.
Yeah, but it ain't Leon famous. Like it was like
Leon's in it.
I'm just saying, but it ain't Leon.
Halle Berry jumps on him. He's
in the movie. What you need, but there's a run of like TV movies and movies. I mean, Robert Townsend is black famous. So whatever Robert Townsend was a part of, right? So like Hollywood Shuffle, the 5 Heartbeats, Temptations, like all that stuff. That's just the whole vibe. And
those
then
are two different movies, Temptations and the 5 Heartbeats.
Yeah, they different movies, but they really run into each other. Things get mixed up in your head because it was a whole movie, it was a vibe. And then I'm gonna tell you what's super black famous. It was a 2-night event. It was a special. The Jackson 5, the Jackson movie. Yes, that's probably the most black famous epic saga.
So let's check in with our commenters again. So we got Toni Morrison, Philip Michael Thomas, which if you want to talk about women of a certain age,
from Miami Vice.
Yes, from Miami Vice. I can remember a whole set of my female relatives and a few of my male relatives that Philip Michael Thomas was the dude for large. Now his son is doing the same thing. I don't know if you see that he's got the next generation out there. Someone put Purple Rain. Now, Carla, you know I love me some Purple Rain, but I feel like that was a shared victory.
Nah, but I put it.
I mean, that was one of the first. Listen, the football team at Overbrook, at least the running back, man, they watched that movie I was trying to watch ESPN highlights. These
and they wanted to watch.
They would only watch. They would watch a couple clips. They would just keep rewinding that daggone beta because they had beta.
Wow.
And they would keep rewinding. And I was like, yo, I'm sick. I hadn't even heard of Prince. And I saw the movie before I heard any of his music.
Juggernaut across like it. Listen,
but it might have been a juggernaut. But I want you to make your point because this is your guy and this is your place, Chris. And I'm gonna step out and step back into my lane. But I put Purple Rain in the same vein as I put The Color Purple. No pun intended. And let me tell you what I mean by that. It might have had this broad appeal. But listen, man.
The emotional attachments to
listen, you need to go purify yourselves in the waters of Lake. what did he say? Of Lake Minnetonka. Listen, I'm talking about every single line in my household being quoted. Like, listen, this brother just said hardcore football players was out here watching Purple Rain every day. Like Love Jones is from my
shocking. Listen, I mean, it was all I remember. It was some scene he had. I don't remember. I mean, you're talking about like decades ago. Yeah. But I remember the scene that they would watch the most. A couple of them was he had some fight with his father. Yeah. And I think as I got to know them better, I'm like, oh, they saw the relationship with, you know what I mean? They had like a rocky relationship with their father, but they watched that joint before a football game. Like, yo, this is not what we should be watching before a football game, yo. Like,
did y'all win?
Well, I feel like, let me say this.
Apollonia, bro.
Attributed to the L's.
Revisionist history in my mind. I love Prince. I've always loved Prince.
That's your man.
Love the movies, was into the music and everything. At the same time, was also a very big Rick James fan and very big fan of music that didn't necessarily cross over. And I don't know if everybody watching this will remember this, but there was a point in time where MTV had not one single black video. Not a single black video would play in 24-hour periods of time. And David Bowie and other people started pressing them on why they had no black artists, and they just refused to play them. As a matter of fact, y'all should look it up on YouTube, Mark Goodman and David Bowie, and you'll see an interview of David Bowie saying, it's really ironic that you have no black artists. And it's funny because David Bowie was saying this to them at a moment when his entire album was produced by Dude from Chic. What's the Dude from Chic's name? I think you're on mute, Charles.
And didn't Michael Jackson launch them? He was the first video that they did, right?
He was one of the first, and Rick James. I mean, and Prince. Prince and Michael Jackson. So Michael Jackson, Epic Records called MTV and said, if you do not play Michael Jackson, we will give you none of our artists, none of our rock artists, none of our heavy metal artists, none of our artists. If you don't play this Michael Jackson, he is blowing up everywhere in the world. There is no way in the hell that you cannot play this. So they started playing him, and they played Prince. And they played those two.
And Run DMC.
Run DMC came a little bit later, but they were like
okay.
there were also charges of colorism. Like the only reason that they played Michael Jackson and Prince was because they were more palatable. And they literally said, "Listen, we're not just in big cities. We're also in towns across America, and people aren't ready for it, whatnot." Rick James called them out on this, literally in public, called them out on Prince. Particularly, he called Prince out and Michael Jackson for not bringing other black artists along with them. And part of that was because Michael and Prince had developed a very white audience, right? Like Prince was getting booed in a lot of R&B and black shows.
And they all had beef, and all three of them had beef with each other, which was interesting.
They did have beef, but two of them didn't bring any other black artists along with them for a while. And Michael started bringing other black artists along with them. And I'm only pointing this out to say Prince didn't really give a damn about that point. He wasn't really.
Nah, because he got to do scenes with Apollonia. Listen, bro. So like, let's just
Can we talk about Vanity before Apollonia?
I mean, you can talk about them both. I mean, listen, and here's one that's
black
famous.
That was Chris famous.
So would you say? Oh, Shalimar is definitely black famous. Love Shalimar.
Shalimar,
all 8,000 of them. That's all 8,000. They're the Wu-Tang Clan of R&B. But what I would say, with Moonwalker, are we saying Moonwalker is black famous, or are we giving that to everybody?
Michael Jackson's Moonwalker?
Yes. Are we giving that to everybody?
Was up on it. I don't think everybody was up on Moonwalker.
Michael
had some pretty weird projects every now and then that didn't always go our direction.
Don't you say a damn bad word about Moonwalker.
I love Michael Jackson,
the Bunny Rabbit,
but he did some Bubbles type shit every now and then that just didn't make a sense to all of us, right? Like, and it's just it's nah.
I agree with that.
Well,
I don't know what Moonwalker is.
I'm gonna say a few movies from my generation that y'all probably missed, right? So there's for me, there's Love Jones is one. That's
very definitely not your generation, but go ahead, keep talking.
It more is. I'm talking about
that's absolutely my 20s. That was was our generation. That's a Gen X staple.
It's not a Gen X staple.
That is a Gen X.
I think I've heard people talk about that.
I would say The Best Man, Waiting to Exhale is right there.
Waiting to Exhale. Yes, I remember that one.
Last Dragon is yours. But I love Last Dragon. I love Last Dragon.
Was amazing. That's
Gen X. We just black Negroes love some kung fu. I don't know why we love kung fu the way we did. I don't know why. I mean, Bruce Lee is Oakland all day.
It originated in Africa. That's why.
Is that what it was?
You feel that spiritual connection.
I love kung fu movies. I love kung fu movies as a kid.
So let me tell you.
Well, I mean, from what I've heard, I haven't seen it, but from what I heard back in high school, you can't really consider Last Dragon a kung fu movie. You can't even consider it a movie.
It's really
it's crap.
No, it's a good movie. It's a good movie, but show enough and all that, they're not doing real kung fu. But this takes me back because you just mentioned Bruce Lee. I was a 70s kid. Kung fu was big with black folks in the 70s. My dad was a big kung fu person.
And you lived in the Bay for a while. He's a Bay dude.
Yeah, they went out to college out there, but everywhere, like back in New Orleans, folks was into kung fu movies. Jim Kelly is somebody that I was black famous, and Arthur Ashe and some other people like that. We own them.
Unless you're a hardcore, white martial artist, you probably haven't heard of Jim Kelly.
You haven't heard of Jim Kelly. No, most of them haven't. Even if they've watched Enter the Dragon, they didn't know that was Jim Kelly. But let me tell you what happened to my dad that broke his heart and that made me reassess my values as a child. So I'm young. I don't know how old I am. My dad takes me to see a kung fu movie, and it's whatever one that is Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris, right? This is one movie that they did together. Now, Chuck Norris is doing this stiff American karate stuff, and Bruce Lee beats his ass in the movie, basically kills him, whatnot. And my dad was just like, what do you think of the movie? And blah, blah, blah. We're talking, and I don't know how it came around to which one would you rather be? And I was like, I want to be Chuck Norris.
And it's Way of the Dragon, by the way.
And my dad was like, so the Asian cat whooped his ass, had twice the skills that he had, was fluid in every way possible, and your ass wants to be Chuck Norris? What kind of Anglo-Saxon bullshit is this, right? The look of disgust and disappointment in my dad made me a Bruce Lee fan from that moment on. I had to invest more energy in understanding what was going on in these movies. But I mean, listen, that's what happens in American pop culture. You think the white guy is the hero no matter what, right? A lot of my movies from childhood had very few black
Bruce Lee, though. I mean, Bruce Lee was always just that dude. I mean, his charisma.
No, he really wasn't.
Like, I was watching it later in life, so I didn't watch. I wasn't around to watch it.
Anti-Asian sentiment, just in general, and in Hollywood or whatnot. Asians were not. Bruce Lee now is famous like crazy. He is known as a entity but back then, I mean, that dude was very disrespected, but an icon in the black community. Maybe not in all of America, but in the black community, Jim Kelly, Bruce Lee, all that stuff. Everybody's trying to do.
I mean, black people like Chuck Norris too. Chuck Norris was popular. I mean, we like kung fu, bro. Like kung fu is just people just.
None of the people around me like. My dad hated Chuck Norris with a passion.
Yeah, I don't know anybody who liked Chuck Norris.
He represented America.
Like I don't know. Bruce Lee and Jim Kelly, but I mean, he's like Captain America back then. You know
he was
what I mean?
The John Wayne.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I just like seeing people get
none of
beat
my
up.
circle dug him.
No, that hairy stiff just kicking like hiya, you know. But yeah, Kung Fu, disco, funk, Soul Train, the Brothers Johnson,
Teddy Riley,
New Jack Swing.
Yeah, Teddy Riley and Keith
sampling.
Sweat.
How about that one? Sampling. Just the idea, damn near 100% of music today is based on sampling.
Diddy is, I mean, you know,
and where did that come from? Where did that come from?
Well, that definitely came from us. I mean, you know, we were sampling food at you know, during enslaved time. So I mean, you've been sampling for a long time. You don't give us nothing to work with. We work with what we got. And this is what I'm saying. And you know, and somebody might be out there hating, right? They'd be like, they ain't talking about no education. Listen, man, again,
this is education.
We have greatness. It is education. Exactly. Like there's so many things that you learn around people that had to kind of get, like, let me give you one. And I don't know if he actually counts as Black famous, but he is so important to Black people. And you should, anytime we talk about rock and roll, you got to name two people, Chuck Berry and Little Richard, man. Mm-hmm. And Little Richard has an incredible interview on Arsenio Hall.
I'm sure they have huge white families.
I'm sure, but that's why this is why I made that caveat. Yeah. They're so important to Black people though. Like Little Richard had, and also on Arsenio Hall, super Black famous. That show is the blackest, and he's coming back too, by the way. He's back on Netflix, but if I will find it and post it on our official page, it's such a powerful interview of like, he didn't get his star on the Walk of Fame for 40 years. And he was like, I invented this whole thing, right?
Who said it?
Little Richard.
He said that his whole life. What I would tell people listening to this point that you're making right now to do is go out and read that brother's autobiography.
Mm.
That autobiography is filled with so much gossip about everybody else, from Buddy Holly and Elvis and whatnot, stuff that they did behind the scenes. There's a couple of things I'll tell you to read. Go and read Quincy Jones' Rolling Stone interview, and the dirt that he gives is the only dirt that an old rich Black man could give who don't care about nothing. It will make your eyes pop out. Half of the stuff that he says in there, the truth that he tells about people in that. And Little Richard's autobiographies is the same way. He names names. He talks about just crazy stuff, total stuff you would never see if you weren't, you know.
Yeah, I would say, and just, you know, in my generation or whatnot, Tavis Smiley was for a little bit. He was like he wasn't this phenom, but like it's like, oh, the smart Black dude is on talking about education now. What has happened since ain't my business. But I will say, because he had that tour that was super Black famous. Remember, he would get all the Black. It would be like a Covenant with Black America, and he did those for like 5 years straight. Like, and when they came to the hood,
they were huge too.
They were big. They were really, really big. I think it's a few people in that. Like, we ain't even getting to like Toni Morrison or like
No, like someone put that in the chat.
Oh, did they?
Some of their writing, they might know the name, but like some of their writing, like writings are hers, Zora Neale Hurston's, right? Like it's writing
Audre
that
Lorde.
they may know quotes here or there, they may know the name, but as far as like some of their, you know,
Iceberg Slim, very, very books, Black famous.
So Josh put in the back channel, Babyface, Jimmy Jam, and Terry Lewis. He also put Jackie Chan. I don't know if Jackie Chan qualifies.
I mean, Black people love Jackie Chan. I mean, Rush Hour.
They love him, but they're not. He's not.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know. But he knew what he was doing when he went to go get Chris Tucker. Friday is definitely Black famous.
Oh, Carla put Donnie Simpson in here. That's a score. That's
the BET joint. That's the boy at night from the Green BET back in the day. Yeah.
You know, that's a.
Oh, you want some real Black famous? Let me give you some real Black famous that neither one of y'all. Chris might know. Sharif, I don't think I'll be surprised. Sharif know. Miss Cleo. Miss Cleo is Black famous, regardless of how you feel. Miss Cleo had
funny. No Black person ever called that damn number and spent that 99 cents. You know,
call him in now. I don't even think that the accent was real, B. Like Miss Cleo was the first scammer, B. She was out here like
Sharif. She was like one of those 1-800-1900 psychics.
Yes,
call it Miss Cleo, and I'll tell you nothing. Now, Joy put Louis Farrakhan. That's an interesting choice because I would consider him Black famous and white infamous.
Yeah,
meaning it's not that they're unaware of him; they are aware of him, and he is infamous with
well, they hate him, and black people disrespect him. You know what I mean? It's like we respect, like regardless of what religion you are, most black people have a sense of respect for Louis Farrakhan. You know what I mean? It's like that's why they call Farrakhan the squash beefs. Like that's why, you know, didn't he like help? Oh no, that was Jesse Jackson that was trying to free the troops or whatnot. I mean, not troops, but free those captives or whatever. But yeah, Jesse Jackson might be up there a little bit. Al Sharpton.
Definitely Al Sharpton's radio show is black famous and nobody else in the world listens to it but black folks. in like 400 black markets he's in.
And let's be real, and we ain't talking about this ain't in shape skinny Al Sharpton. You need fat with a perm Al Sharpton. Fat Al Sharpton with a perm was a problem. And then he showed up in when he showed up in Malcolm X the movie. And I would also say, if we're gonna stay there, I say, I mean, white people know them now, but Cornel West and Michael Eric Dyson was kind of black fame. It was like, oh, you reading some smart black Negro. All right,
I don't know. I mean, in Philly, I mean, he's all pin. I mean, that's.
But I'm not
ivory,
from. I'm not
yeah,
from.
I mean, that's
though,
the white
you know
ivory tower space that
knew
him before. You know, like the black community. You know, before the CNN or whatever.
But you were closer to him, right? Like you, it's like you. He's from that city and that place. Like
that's what I'm saying. Like just folks.
But black.
Whenever I saw him, it was in front of white audiences.
You know what?
White audiences.
And we talked about people. Entertainers, music, bands, movies.
Oh yeah, Dr. Sebi.
Of which I'm going to add Cooley High, by the way.
Oh yeah, Cooley High.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that was the first movie I saw when I got back to the States. It was Cooley High.
Offer that, and I'm going to offer up Cameo before Word Up.
Okay.
I don't think most America know that there was a Cameo before.
And I need you to add Willie Brown too.
So, Willie Brown. You know, Sanford and Son. Someone put that in earlier. Whatnot.
I didn't Sankofa the movie.
I didn't know that. I don't know that.
That's hella black famous because I don't know it.
Sankofa the movie. It's about the it's about the Middle Passage, and also
Harold
the
Washington,
Spook Who Sat Behind the Door. Both the book and the movie.
That's
I would say are black famous. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's one of those iconic joints that a lot of white folks, they might hear it if
John might be black famous too.
Well, yeah, that's reasonable.
I mean, that's right now you do see some you know shiesty lawyer billboards talking about this joint. You know, I mean, just like, yo, take that down.
Listen,
who put that billboard up?
But we don't have black politicians like we used to, like Marion Barry, Harold Washington, and Willie Brown. Like, I mean,
and John and Milton Street. Yeah. I remember when I was little, these two, they were brothers on city council. I remember on the news, these jokers are rumbling on city council floor. Some white politician said something slick. And yo, man, all hell broke loose in this joint with these two brothers. I mean, it was
part of the reason Clarence Thomas is crazy today. Listen, this is for the young people that don't know this, right? You should look this up. Clarence Thomas and Marion Barry came up around the same time. Part of the reason Clarence Thomas hates Negroes today is because of Marion Barry. Okay, for the kids that don't know, Marion Barry was the people's mayor who got caught in a hotel smoking crack with a hooker, and as he's getting arrested, he said, "The B set me up," and he got voted in again. Okay, like black people love Marion Barry, and when Clarence Thomas could not get
a lot of people don't know all the things he did for the community before, like he was, you know, leading up to that.
And that's, you know, so black people. Let me just ask you a question: would you rather have somebody who does a little crack? Would you rather have somebody who does a little crack every now and then, but make sure a whole bunch of people get fed, get educated, get housed, have jobs, have power? Or would you rather somebody who plays all the game, totally straight, but don't do a damn thing for nobody? And when they do something for somebody, it's probably for white progressives or somebody else.
Can I get a third choice? I mean, can I get a third choice?
What's wrong with we joke about it. We joke about it. We joke about it, Sharif, but I'll say this. Marion Barry gets caught smoking crack touched America, bro, because a lot of black people were smoking crack. Like, I'm just saying, like, they was like, he's just like me.
Yeah, that made him real people. Well, not
I'm just saying, and he didn't hide from it. He didn't hide from it. Look, he didn't.
Well, not just like me.
I'm just saying, bro, didn't hide. But this is what I'm saying. He didn't hide from it. He came out. He said what he did, and then he got back to doing work. I mean, I'm just saying, if you want a lesson in resilience, if you want a lesson in people telling you got to go away forever and you coming back, Marion Barry, bro, I would still choose Marion Barry 1,000 times over Clarence Thomas.
So, question for y'all. can a non-person, place, or movie thing be
Black
Black
famous?
famous too?
Yeah.
So I have a couple in mind then.
Okay. Fillmore. Old Fillmore was Black famous. Harlem was Black. The Roaring Twenties, Harlem.
Concoline.
Mm-hmm.
The
I
Jerry
don't know
curl.
Concoline. Say it again.
Concoline, the Jerry curl, the perm.
Okay.
Box braids.
Okay.
These are
I
things.
just learned what box braids was.
If you gave
daughter
American tips on what these things are, how you do them, like it would be a mystery. Like the chemical process of a Jerry curl, first of all, would be a mystery to a good number of people. And as a person who had the world's best Jerry curl at one point in the United States.
Can you say something like that? Is there such a thing as the world's best Jerry curl? Like,
is that the best one ever? Like the Smithsonian is trying to track down my pictures.
Oh, is that right? Yours was better than Ice Cube's? You had one better than Ice Cube?
Ice Cube's was raggedy. His entire Jerry curl looked thirsty. It looked like it was in need of some oasis. I had the best.
Double Dutch.
Double Dutch. That's right. Double Dutch.
Jack's, Double Dutch.
The Candy Lady.
Patty cake.
Oh my God.
The real patty cake.
Diabetes house.
The Candy Lady, baby.
Just come knock on the door.
The Candy Lady and Penny Candy, baby. And we don't went way over, but this. Yeah. I needed this joy. This has been joy. And I know let's get into some final thoughts, but damn it. And I know we left some stuff off. Blame our heads and not our hearts, because it's a lot. We have so much to give. We have done so much. Like, if we can get back to joy, whenever we just do us, when we're not trying to follow white people as far as education or this or that, that's when we start struggling. When we just do our own thing, when we just worry about us, when we just take care of us, we create the greatest shit in the world that everybody copies. They still trying to do a new Boomerang. They trying to do they keep these white people trying to come and just do all these. You can't bring it back. You can't bring it back. We just need to create new stuff. So I didn't mean to get emotional there. I want to open it up for y'all. Reef, go ahead with your final thought and anything you might have left out, man. But thank y'all for appeasing me on this one. This was fun. And I wanted to get back to us. And it seemed like people got to have fun with us.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I didn't know what the hell y'all were talking about most of the show, but it was good because I was still entertained nonetheless. So like, oh, this is every once in a while I'm like, oh yeah, that one. But by then y'all moved on to something. I was like, wait, I don't know what they're talking about. And it was too much to even try to Google. Usually, sometimes I'm Googling when y'all say something on the show. But I would say, some of these things, I would say we should, maybe we should forget. I don't know, put it in a museum. But some things we should hold on to. We should make sure we teach our kids. One thing I was going to add is lift every voice and sing. Is Black famous, meaning people who know the words? There's probably very few white folks who know the song, even though it's sang a lot and they've been in spaces where it's sung. But that's a song that many other youth are forgetting or not being taught, right? The entire song, right? And so making sure that we hold on to that, we pass it along. I'm bummed that was one of my things. I was like, when I started Freedom Schools, all kids are going to know this. And so far we've not prioritized it. And then I will tell you something else. I wanted during Freedom School in the afternoons, we have enrichment. So, community teachers teach things. Bruh, I could not find people to teach Double Dutch, Jack's, and like Pity Pack, the fast joint that they be, the young. I could not find people to teach that, which to me means that it might be a dying art, which scares me. I'm like, I want our kids, I want my daughters to know how to Double Dutch, how to play Jack's, how to play Pity Pack with all the poems and the rhymes and the styling and syncopation and all of that kind of stuff. So the things that we should hold on to. Things like Jerry curl, feel free to forget it. Like it's okay. It's all right to not teach your kids that. I mean?
Stop it.
No, but let's hold on to the things that we really need to pass. Pass on.
Stop it.
I will come to the Smithsonian and check it out.
I want you to know, brother, right now I'm just gonna help hip you to something in your as you lose your black card here. I just want you to know that it is a chemical process. You have to be somewhat of a chemist to get the curl right. to know what you are doing, it requires some chemistry, right? And not like meth chemistry, like real understanding texture and hair and timing and chemicals, to make it happen, bro. You got to be somewhat of a hood chemist.
Like I
So
feel you.
stop
I
it.
feel you.
So just stop it.
Gotta listen. Gotta respect style and art in whatever space it comes in.
And chemicals. You can put them all together. You put them together. So.
That sounds like crack, but all right.
They used to call a perm like Optimum and those things the creamy crack.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they used to call it that because people were so addicted to getting their hair done, like getting their hair did, even though that was burning your scalp off, sizzling, just buzzing.
And before you go into your final thought, the other thing is the Crown Royal bag by itself is Black famous. Everybody had a Crown Royal bag in their house
with no Crown Royal in it, with everything else in it. Like
and when I think of Crown, I think of this red hair grease joint that was called
that too.
When I hear Crown, that's what I think of.
The Murray's grease, the Crown grease, Blue Magic, all that.
Doan's pills. That would be Black Magic too.
What was that? What was the stuff? The BC powder is BC powder Black famous? Do you remember that? Do you remember BC powder?
That might be regional.
You had money.
That might be regional.
Is it?
That might be Southern.
Granny, I got a headache.
Like Doan's is. Now that I think about it.
Granny, is you giving me cocaine? What is this?
No, Granny was giving you castor oil and ginger ale. Castor oil and ginger ale all the time. Well, listen, for my final thoughts, this is what I'll say. First of all, this has been one of the most enjoyable shows that I've had in a long time. The thing that I think is really important to me about this show is these aren't trivial little items about our existence and about our culture and about things that we remember. I very clearly remember episodes of shows where I learned things or I gained information that I didn't have before. Good Times and What's Happening Now, and Black movies, Blaxploitation movies or whatnot, where concepts or ways of understanding the world that were a little bit more advanced than I was at the time taught me things, and it's now part of me. These are part of my culture. And every one of our kids walks in to school every day with the World Fund of Information. And their World Fund of Information is oftentimes different than the World Fund of Information that's being held by the people who are trying to teach them, or the people who are designing the schools or the curriculum who are trying to teach them, who all they could do a 2-hour, 4-hour shows of this on their World Fund of Information. And their World Fund of Information would include things like the Love Boat and, Charlie's Angels and Quantum Leap.
Hate if you want
trolling. But anyways, I'm always saying
Wonder Years.
They think that their World Fund of Information is obviously superior, and I am here to tell you that every people on planet Earth have their own World Fund of Information. Tonight we just talked about a lot of ours. A lot of what we were talking about weren't flippant items from our past, but they were educative in our lives. They did teach us something about story structure, about song structure, about lyrics, about concepts, about things. And the interesting thing is that many people of color could probably pass much of the white World Fund of Information test, but it wouldn't go two ways, right? A lot of what we talked about is ours, but we live in dual consciousness oftentimes. We're studying our own World Fund of Information, and we're studying somebody else's World Fund of Information, and they're not doing the same thing.
Exactly.
Which is why we could pass a lot of their test, and they could pass almost none of ours. If we wanted to devise a culture test for white America and hid within it everything that we talked about tonight, they would fail that test. If we had to take their test on their culture and their World Fund of Information, not only would we pass ours, we would probably do pretty well on theirs, because we are meant to be dual citizens, dual consciousness citizens. So that's my final word.
Right. And it doesn't even have to be a culture test. Like, we can give them a standardized test, but just seeped in our books, our culture, the way that standardized tests are seeped in their culture and their books, and they would fail. And then they would be the below basics. I guarantee it.
Approaching basic, approaching proficient. Man. White America is not approaching proficient on Black America. White America is not even approaching.
So if we created those standardized tests and it looked like that, it looked like our books from Zora Neale Hurston or Toni Morrison, and they would not know.
Iceberg Slim.
They would be like, "Oh, I can't read. I'm illiterate." That's what they would leave.
You know,
Damon
Wayans, and you can keep me on the main screen for this. Damon Wayans was just doing an interview, and they was asking him about In Living Color and all this stuff. And he said, you know, In Living Color is the reason that the NFL has a Super Bowl like halftime show, right? He said, you know, before us, it was just marching bands and like the most boring white mundane stuff. And what we did on Fox, it was on CBS or wherever it was. We put a timer up and we did a live show, and then that is why you now have this multi-billion, dollar thing. Like, the point that I'm making is that we always downplay and downsell our culture and pieces, and not just for the standardized piece, which I think we should do, but just there's so much cultural gold inside of that around who you are. If you look at Dolomite and you look at how Dolomite looked and how he spoke, but what he built with nothing. If you look at, and then you look at Spike Lee, right? Or if you look at an In Living Color or the Richard Pryor show, all the way to Chappelle and what he's able to do, or Jamie Foxx, who I think is the most talented person probably ever born, right? Like, there is so much greatness in us, but people like to focus on our mess. Let me tell you a secret, America. Every culture got mess. Nobody got more mess than white people. It's so bad that's why they try to change history books every single year to cover up their mess. We just are do a much better job of living in it, accepting it, doing the Marion Barry dance, and moving on and continuing to be great. This show was so fun and important, and I wanted this to connect with people because our history is not all sadness and poverty and this, even in the max. Yeah, like, we had a good time. And those movies, those shows, they had family values. And those shows, they talked about resilience. And those shows, you still talked about ethics and what was right and what was wrong and what's your role as a person in this community and this, that, and the third. And it was just fun. I just want us to have some fun. There is something to be gleaned from this. And all you parents out there, or aunts and uncles or whatever, put something together for your kids and watch some stuff together and let them get their jokes off and all that stuff. But I remember, and my dad did something similar. I was talking about Janet Jackson, and he introduced me to a movie with this woman named Pam Grier. And he said, let me show you my Janet Jackson.
Another one where I felt something. Yeah, I felt something on that one too.
And
I
remember
the first time. Yes, it was.
And it sounds funny, right? But the point that I'm making is, it's like, that even for two people that didn't have a lot in common or didn't have a lot to talk about, we had something to talk about that day.
When I saw Pam Grier for the first time, I knew I was a boy. I was like, that was the day I became a boy, because I was like, whoa, what is that? What Lord have mercy. Damn.
And don't let them bastardize the things that we do, whether it's dominoes, which is a very strategic game, or spades or whatever. Like, I love chess, and white people don't just get to own chess either. They didn't make that shit up either, by the way. It ain't theirs. It's not theirs. Because that's what happens, right? The things that we consider prestigious, we just give them to them. Like, Sharif kindly corrected me in the middle of this and said, you like Kung Fu movies? Because it didn't start there. It actually started with us, right? This stuff is rooted in our history and who we are. And I want to just make sure that we don't disrespect our grandparents, our great-grandparents, our parents, and the people that came before us and what they built, man. Like, and we can have, I'm tired of this sad ass shit talking about these, the system is doing what it's intended to do, and this and that and all the time. All right, it's been doing it. Was doing it back then. What do we do? What do we build, right? We come from a people that could build every single thing in our community, that could fix a car, can fix something in your house, and also could teach you not just Shakespeare, but things from our culture in the language that we actually, we created some of them romances, right? So all I just wanted to say, thank you all, and thank you, Sharif and Chris, for just I just wanted to have some fun, but there was something here. We don't have to hit you in the head. I don't want to have to keep hitting people in the head with stuff. You know what I mean? Let's enjoy ourselves, and hopefully you pick up something, some things, some nuggets that you can share with your kids. And you should be a cultural classroom for your kids. Damn what your school is doing. You got a whole lot. Because I know as we was listing out stuff, y'all flooded. This is some of the most comments we done ever got. If somebody take that stuff and put it all on one piece of paper, oh my God. White people would sell it. That's how you know it's good.
Pearson was selling. Pearson is in our comments right now going, oh yeah, we're gonna create a Negro battery test of some sort. And
that's it. I'm good, man. I appreciate y'all. Josh, do what you need to do. Brothers, I love y'all and thank y'all for indulging me, man. I needed this in my